You were never meant to hear this, not because it's forbidden, but because it shouldn't be possible to know. And yet, here you are, standing at the edge of something that doesn't make sense, staring into the eye of a truth so vast, so terrifying that even the silence of space trembles under its weight. They told us the universe was expanding, that it began with a single explosion, a glorious, flaming birth called the Big Bang. But what if that explosion never happened? What if the story we've clung to for generations, the moment of everything erupting from nothing, is just a shadow on the wall? A beautiful illusion stitched together by equations and guesses? You might imagine the beginning as light, violent, radiant light, ripping through darkness, flinging stars like embers across a newborn cosmos. But what if it wasn't light at all? What if it was silence? What if the universe didn't roar into existence, but whispered? Because now we're seeing something that doesn't fit. A planet so far away, it should be invisible. A place so impossible that its very presence might tear through the fabric of everything we thought we understood. Scientists call it an exoplanet, an unassuming label for something that feels like a cosmic joke. But this isn't just another rock orbiting a distant star. No, this world lives in defiance of time, of structure, of reason. It's older than it should be, positioned where no planet should survive. And worst of all, it's thriving. You might wonder, what does that mean? How can a world not bound by our rules, by our physics, by our cosmic clock, even exist? Here's the unsettling part. It doesn't follow the same chemical path that life on Earth does. It shouldn't be habitable. There's no rocky surface, no magnetic field, no breathable air. But when the telescopes turned their gaze to it, they found something anyway. Signals, rhythms, patterns. Not sound, not language, but not random either. A pulse, a breath, a cadence, like a heartbeat echoing across light years of vacuum, and suddenly the silence wasn't silent anymore. This planet, this new Earth, sits in the void like a contradiction. It shouldn't be stable. It shouldn't support life. And yet, it reflects something. Infrared scans show heat signatures that pulse with uncanny precision. Too ordered to be nature. Too strange to be ignored. Imagine walking into a room you've never seen before, sealed for billions of years, and finding footprints, still fresh, still warm. That's what this feels like. Every model breaks under its weight. Every theory collapses in its presence. And every scientist who's stared at the data too long seems to drift, just a little. Like the truth they touched pulled them into something they weren't ready to see. Because if this world is real, if it's thriving, then something else must have built it. Not in the way we build cities or satellites, but in the way stars forge iron and gravity sculpts galaxies. This is not architecture, it's orchestration. And maybe, just maybe, we're looking at the residue of something that came before us. A civilization, a mechanism, a warning, or perhaps it's none of those things. Perhaps it's a mirror, not reflecting what we are, but what we were, or what we might still become. But here's what truly shatters the illusion. The light from this planet, this distant, haunting sphere, left it billions of years ago. It's not there anymore. Or at least, not the way we see it. We're looking at a ghost, a message from the past written in photons, and still, it screams. How do you explain a dead world that behaves like it's alive? How do you reconcile an origin story that was never meant to be written? How do you prepare for the possibility that this new Earth wasn't found by accident, but by design? And if that's true, if we were meant to find it, then we must ask the question no one dares to voice aloud what happens when we answer back, because in the cold abyss of space, some truths are not waiting to be discovered. They're waiting to awaken. You've heard the story before? A singularity, a point smaller than an atom. No space, no time, no matter. Then, bang. But that word, bang, is misleading. It suggests violence, noise, chaos. Instead, what we now believe happened was something quieter, stranger. The birth of our universe wasn't an explosion. It was an expansion. Not a burst, but a bloom. Like a silent breath in a cold room, spreading out so fast it outran the very laws meant to contain it. In those first moments, less than a trillionth of a second, everything we know came into being. Not just stars and galaxies, but time, causality, even the idea of before and after. Imagine a furnace so hot it melts the rules of physics. That was our beginning. And for a while, the universe made sense. It cooled, slowly. Quarks became atoms. Atoms became stars. Stars collapsed into black holes and scattered heavy elements that would, one day, become oceans and blood and thought. Galaxies formed like spiraling cities of fire. Gravity carved beauty out of chaos, balancing expansion with collapse in a delicate cosmic dance. But somewhere along that dance, something slipped. There's a principle in physics called cosmic isotropy. It says the universe looks the same in every direction. Smooth, not even predictable. But look closely, just closely enough, and you'll see the defies, the microwave background, radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang should be uniform. But it isn't. Not entirely. There are cold spots, hot spots, disturbances, bruise on the fabric of space that no one can quite explain. Some scientists call it the axis of evil, an eerie alignment of temperature anomalies that stretches across the sky, defying randomness. It shouldn't be there, and yet it is, as if something imprinted its will in the baby universe before it could scream. And what about dark matter, that invisible glue-holding galaxies together like whispered threads in the void? We can't see it, we can't touch it, but without it, our universe would fly apart. It outweighs regular matter 5-to-1, and yet we don't know what it is, or dark energy. The force that isn't just expanding the universe, but accelerating it, driving galaxies away from one another faster and faster, as if space itself were tired of holding things together. Where is it pushing us? Why? And what happens when it wins? You see, the more we learn, the more the universe begins to look like a trick mirror. What appears certain becomes uncertain. What seems fixed begins to drift. We thought space was empty. It's not. It writhes, it breathes, it has structure, patterns, and sometimes gaps. Places where light bends wrong. Where signals vanish, where time hiccups. And that brings us to the stars themselves. We assumed they were all the same, just variations on a theme. Gas, fusion, light, death. But then we found stars that shouldn't exist. One's too old to be in this universe. Older than the universe itself, by our calculations. A paradox, a crack in the timeline. Imagine standing in a museum and seeing a painting dated before the invention of paint. That's the kind of contradiction we're dealing with. It's as if the universe is showing us a version of itself we're not supposed to see. Not yet, maybe not ever. And then there's the silence. For decades, we've listened, pointed our radio dishes at the stars, hoping for a whisper from the void. Nothing. Not a signal, not a trace. Just static. So, either no one's out there, or they're hiding. Or worse. We're the anomaly, the loud child in a library of ghosts. That's the scientific backdrop of this mystery. A cosmos that behaves like it has a memory. A structure that looks drawn, not random. A timeline full of artifacts that don't belong. Now, into that strange stage walks a single, impossible planet. This new Earth isn't just strange because of what it is. It's strange because of where it isn't. According to every model, it can't exist in its star's habitable zone. The math says no. The chemistry says no. But the telescope says yes, and that contradiction, that refusal to obey, is what makes it dangerous. Because it means there's a flaw in the system, a tear in the script, and once something proves, the rules can be broken. The rest of the universe may follow. So the question is no longer what this planet is, it's why we were allowed to see it, and who, or what, wants us to. Would you like to continue with the next section? Imagine the universe as a library. Not one of books, but of realities. Each shelf an existence, each page a possibility. But some shelves are sealed. Some books are written in languages we'll never understand. And somewhere in that infinite archive is you reading this story, unaware that you may be just one copy among billions. To understand the new Earth, the planet that should not be, we must first unravel the oldest thread of all, the nature of everything. It begins with the singularity. The word itself feels sharp, condensed. And that's fitting, because a singularity is the ultimate compression. T, point where matter collapses into infinity. No volume, no rules, no escape, a prison not for people, but for physics. At the center of every black hole, we believe, there is a singularity, a place where space is crushed so tightly that it folds in on itself. Time halts, dimensions break, logic screams, and yet something remains. A gravity so strong that even light bows before it. Now, hold on to this. The Big Bang wasn't an explosion in space. It was the creation of space. Time itself was born inside that fire. That means the singularity at the start of our universe wasn't in the universe. It was the universe. And what if it still is? What if the universe never escaped its singularity, only unfurled like a dream from the sleeping mind of something far deeper? This is where time gets slippery. In our daily lives, time is linear. You wake, you breathe, you sleep. Past leads to present, present to future. But in the realm of cosmic physics, time may not be a line at all. It may be a loop. Think of a film reel. Each frame is a moment. All exist simultaneously. The illusion of motion comes only when the reel turns. In this model, every moment you've ever lived still exists. You, crying at birth. You, wondering now. You, someday, staring into the stars as an old soul with new questions. But loops can be dangerous. They imply recurrence. What if the universe is not expanding away from something, but folding back into it? What if the end is the beginning? What if the final breath of our cosmosis also its first? Some physicists call this the Big Bounce, an eternal cycle, expansion, collapse, rebirth, over and over, forever, a cosmic heartbeat. And like any heart, it can skip a beat. Stutter. Stop. Now imagine this. What if New Earth is a scar from a previous cycle? A leftover world that shouldn't exist in this round of reality, but somehow does? That leads us to the next frontier, the most audacious of all theories. The multiverse, not a universe. Universes. If our reality is a bubble, it may not be alone. Billions of other bubbles may float in the cosmic sea, each with different laws, different constants, different fates. In one, gravity may be too strong for stars. In another, atoms may never form. In yet another, you were never born. But sometimes, bubbles collide. Sometimes, universes bleed into each other. And sometimes, anomalies, like the new Earth, slip through the seams. Could this planet be a visitor from another timeline? A version of Earth from a different roll of the cosmic dice? 1. Where evolution took a stranger path, or where intelligence bloomed not from flesh, but from stone and silence. It's not just theory. There are signs, cold spots in the cosmic microwave background, patterns in particle decay, events with no known cause, moments when the universe seems to remember things that never happened. There's even a name for the wound. In reality, such events leave behind nonlocality. It means something happening here may be caused by something there, even if there doesn't exist in our space-time. Let that sink in, cause and effect ripped apart, reality untethered and still. New Earth spins. Quiet watching. Now here's the final twist in this segment of the story. Some believe the multiverse isn't just a spatial phenomenon. It's temporal. That every choice you've made, every fork in your life, created a new branch, a new reality, a new you. So what if New Earth isn't from another place, but another decision? What if, in some version of the past, humanity took a different path, one that led to that world? What if someone, or something, on that path found a way to send a message backward to us, to now, and that message is the planet itself, not a rock, not a home, but a riddle, a whisper through the fabric of what can be. And now we must ask if reality is a web, and we've just touched a strand we weren't supposed to. What else is listening? You've made it this far. You've followed the trail of paradoxes, drifted through singularities, and slipped between dimensions where cause and effect fall apart like smoke. But now it's time to ask the question you've been avoiding. Not what is out there, but why are we here? Because everything we've uncovered leads to something deeper, something darker, a whisper beneath the data, a truth so vast it eclipses language itself. If the universe is a loop, then you've lived this life before. Not once, not twice, but perhaps eternally. You've taken your first breath an infinite number of times. You've stared into the night sky, asking the same questions with The same AW with the same fear, over and over, like an echo that refuses to die. But what if that echo isn't an accident? What if it's the universe remembering you? Think of it this way. If every moment in time already exists, then free will is an illusion. You're not choosing what to do next. You're acting out a scene already written. Your tears, your laughter, your pain. It's all choreography in a play that has no author, just a stage, a script, and a silent audience of stars. Now look around you, the planet you stand on, the air you breathe, the body you inhabit. All of it, assembled from elements forged. In the bellies of ancient stars, you are, quite literally, made of stardust. That sounds poetic, until you realize what it implies. You are the universe, trying to understand itself, and maybe failing. Because here's the terrifying part. What if consciousness is not a gift, but a glitch? What if this thing we call awareness is an evolutionary fluke? An unintended sparkin, a machine that otherwise runs on silence and entropy. Or worse, what if it's bait? What if the universe created consciousness, the way a spider spins a web, beautiful, intricate, and meant to lure something in? Now return to that planet, the new Earth, the one that shouldn't exist, the one that pulses like a memory we didn't know we had. Its atmosphere shouldn't be stable. Its orbit shouldn't hold. And yet it does, as if some intelligence wanted it that way. But not for life, for observation. It's not a cradle, it's a mirror, and it's staring back. So, we ask again, why were we the ones to see it? Out of all the civilizations that could have existed in all the timelines of all the multiverses, why us? Why now? What if we are not the observers? What if we are the observed? Imagine looking up at the night sky and realizing it's looking back, that those stars aren't just distant furnaces of fusion, but apertures, watchers, not gods, not aliens, something older, colder, something that doesn't think in terms of time or language or mercy, something that builds galaxies like we build ant farms. You think that's dramatic? Then ask yourself, why does the universe seem so finely tuned for life? Why are the physical constants just right? Why is the expansion rate of the universe balanced so delicately that a fraction of a percent in either direction would have prevented stars, galaxies, or consciousness? Some say it's chance. Some say it's design. And some believe we're in a simulation, not one of code and servers, but of laws and particles. A reality rendered not by a programmer, but by something far more unknowable. Something that doesn't watch, but waits. And maybe New Earth is the anomaly. The leak, the place where the simulation forgets to hide its wires. Because here's the final terror. If that planet exists, and it shouldn't, then maybe we don't either. Maybe we're the mistake, the glitch, the ghost. And if the universe corrects itself, if it repairs the fracture, then we too may vanish. Not with a bang, not even with a whisper, but as if we were never there at all. So the next time you look at the stars, remember, you are not alone, but you are not in control either. The story was never yours. You're just the echo reading the last line, again and again, until the silence finally swallows the sound. And now we arrive at the edge, not the edge of space, because space, as far as we know, has no edge. Not the edge of time, because time may not be a river, but a frozen sea, every moment's suspended, already there. No, this is the edge of understanding. Throughout our journey, you've seen the fractures, the impossible planet, the paradoxes hidden in the folds of the cosmos, the whispers of multiverses, the loops of time, the suggestion that everything, including you, might be part of something far stranger than we dare admit. But what if we've still been asking the wrong questions? Not how did the universe begin? Not why is the new Earth there? But this: what if nothing ever began at all? Imagine this: a reality where existence is not a line or a loop, or even a tree of branching choices. Imagine a universe that is already finished, entirely written, where every breath, every collapse of a star, every whispered thought, every anomaly exists all at once, like paint on a cosmic canvas. And now imagine that canvas is not being viewed, but replayed, a recording, an echo. Because here is the twist: the theory so unsettling, even the boldest minds hesitate to voice it. What if the universe is already dead? What if everything we experience, planets forming, galaxies colliding, light traveling billions of years to reach our eyes, is not unfolding in real time, but is the decaying memory of something long gone? The stars we see? Ghosts? The galaxies we chart? Fossils? The Earth beneath our feet? A playback of heat and gravity and chemistry, looping on repeat. This isn't science fiction. It's a legitimate possibility buried deep in thermodynamics and quantum mechanics. The universe may be winding down, not toward a future, but backward from a forgotten past, a reverse entropic echo. In that case, New Earth isn't a planet, it's a relic, a scar, a frozen imprint of something that mattered, something that disrupted the flow, a final burst of impossible life in a cosmos that had already faded. And we are the reflections of its last, dying thoughts. Now close your eyes. Picture the universe not as space, not as stars, but as a colossal machine. Vast, indifferent, beautiful. A machine that once ran hot, bright, alive, and now it ticks quietly in the dark, cooling, slowing, forgetting. We live inside that machine, but we are not its creators. We are its residue, and the new Earth, its message. A final puzzle left behind, not to be solved, but to be felt, to rattle us, to shake. Loose the illusion of permanence. Because if we truly are echoes, if we are the dust of a dream, then our search for meaning is not a failure. It's a testament that something, somewhere, once wanted to understand. That curiosity is the last light to die in a dark universe, so maybe, just maybe, we are not here to survive. Maybe we are here to witness, to stand on the shoulders of ancient stars and look out into the infinite and say, we saw, we wondered, we dared to ask, and that is enough. But the mystery doesn't end here, because if the universe is infinite, if time is a frozen map, if every version of every possibility exists, then somewhere out there, right now, another version of you is watching this. And maybe they've already understood what we never could. Maybe they've touched the edge, stepped beyond it, and disappeared into the silence that follows all questions. And so we leave you with this: if everything you know is just an echo, then what are you, really? And if the answer lies out there, Would you still dare to find it? Or would you simply wake up? Maybe this was never the beginning. Maybe this was the end. And now, you know? Or rather, you've seen just enough to realize how little we understand. You've stepped beyond the curtain, past the equations and theories and star charts, into a space that science dares only to whisper about. You followed the ripple, from the moment that wasn't a bang to a planet that wasn't supposed to be, through time loops, frozen moments, and universes stacked like reflections in an endless hall of mirrors. You stared into the void and saw your own reflection blink back. And yet, the mystery deepens, because none of this ends here. The new Earth? It's still out there, turning in silence, watching, waiting, unexplained, undisturbed. A message we've only just begun to translate. A warning we don't yet understand. A possibility that bends the rules we thought were unbreakable. But the most haunting question isn't about the planet. It's about you. You, the observer. You, the consciousness staring into the infinite and wondering what stares back. Because if time is a loop, if every moment exists all at once, then your thoughts, right now, may already be echoes, shadows on the cave wall, repeats in a reality that doesn't need you to understand it, only to feel it. And that is terrifying. But it's also beautiful, because it means you are part of the greatest story ever told, one that has no author, no ending, and no certainty. A story written in gravity and starlight, in silence and supernova. A story still unfolding, still remembering, still dreaming. And you are not finished. Not yet. So we leave you with this. What if this isn't a question of science, but of memory? What if you're not learning something new, but remembering something forgotten? Something buried deep in the fabric of your being, in the atoms of your bones, in the dark silence behind your thoughts. What if you've been here before? What if you chose to forget? And what if, right now, the universe is asking you to wake up? We can't promise answers. We can only offer possibilities. And you, like all who seek, must decide what to do with them. Will you look away? Will you move on? Or will you ask the one question that still hangs in the void? What else is out there, watching? The universe may have no center, no edge, no meaning. But maybe, just maybe, neither do you. And in that vast, untethered freedom, anything becomes possible. You were never meant to see this, but now that you have, what will you do next?